Good afternoon. This is the 25th of December 2022. My name's Ryder and I'm speaking from Cornwall in West England. And I'd just like to do a short video today regarding taking the power back over your own health. And I'm just going to give some recommendations of information to study that has helped me on my journey. I can say in 2011 I seen an interview on alternative media with a medical biochemist called Trevor Gunn. I immediately bought his book that at the time was called Soma Wisdom, The Science of Health and Healing in 2011. In 2014, it was republished just under the name of The Science of Health and Healing. And that book changed my ideas regarding human health in one read, in one day. In one day, myself, my family walked away from modern medicine, including vaccination, and have taken control over our own lives. Basically, unless accident and emergency, for example, getting run over by a bus, I don't see any use for modern medicine. I'm not an extremist. Modern medicine can be used for symptom suppression if you have a long-term goal of holistic thinking and working with the body. There may be a moment in your life where actually things are just too much. You just need to suppress that symptom, which was, as we'll go into, is an intelligent reaction by the body. But you can use suppressive medicine with a long-term goal. But people have to be clear in the mind what they're doing and the effect it has on the body and mind. So this is my own personal journey of books, etc., and my own recommendations. As Buddha says, believe nothing I say unless it reasons with your own mind. This is just my opinion. I'd probably call this video Tools for Self-Empowerment, which is based on an idea by my friend Patrick Quanten, who I could say has been my mentor mainly, including other people. So I'm going to start off with the book by Trevor Gunn, medical biochemist, The Science of Health and Healing. For me, this is the absolute must. If all the lists that I'm giving you today, because of your financial position or whatever, you can only afford one book, I would say this is the book. This is the book that should be the foundation for all your thinking and regaining your power. If there's two things you get out of the book, one, illness is an intelligent response to the body because of waste and toxicity built up in the body. And so the illness is a cleansing reaction. You have acute illnesses, and if you suppress them, or if they, for whatever reason, they don't clear out properly, you may go into a long-term chronic issue, but it's still a cleansing process, because illness, as Trevor always says, is a process, it's not a thing. So we have thousands and thousands now of definitions of certain illnesses, but there's actually only one process taking place with lots of variations, and the process is a rebalancing and cleansing process. That's why I claim we don't have an immune system, we have a cleansing and rebalancing system. And the other thing that Trevor challenged many years ago now was what is people calling now opposed to germ theory, which is terrain theory. And it goes into the nature of infections. And again, I would say, if you're ill, don't think, what have I got? Think, what is my body trying to do and trying to accomplish? Because there's always an intelligence behind it. Even in autoimmune illnesses, there will be an intelligence behind it. Now, as this is a short video, I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. The next book then I'd recommend is Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Belief. Bruce Lipton, who was a cell biologist, and he realized actually genes don't control your biology. Very simple. He could do experiments where he would take out the genetic material in the nucleus of a cell, and the cell would carry on functioning as if nothing happened. The only long-term effect it had was the lifespan of the cell, because it couldn't reproduce the proteins it needed to carry on functioning when they'd worn out. So it seems the nucleus is the productive part of the cell where things are produced. And what he figured out was around the main membrane was where the brain of the cell. And what he's shown is your biology, therefore your reactions to and responses to life, your biological responses are based on your belief systems. And I'll give one quick example. If I see a spider in front of me now, 3 different people might have 3 different responses. So one person might be afraid and run because in their belief system that spider is dangerous. One person in their belief system might love and pick up a tarantula, which I've done myself, and see that as a non-threatening, cuddly animal. And another person might just have a completely neutral response. All those responses are based on their own personal beliefs. None of them are absolutely true. The objective reality is it is a spider, it is a tarantula. Their own perception of that will dictate their own responses on seeing that. And the other important thing is you can change your response, because we know somebody who has a fear of tarantulas could go through some kind of process and then not be afraid. So your responses aren't fixed, which is something I'll go into later on, but that's an important thing to understand, that you're not a victim of your genes, and that your belief creates a perception, which then creates your biological reaction or your behavior. So that's another book I'd recommend. Another one is Henry Lindlar, Nature Cure, and I think he wrote this in about 1913. And this was a doctor who was, they were more in touch then because germ theory had it completely taken over then. The Flexner report, which was the Rockefeller report, which basically put allopathic thinking as the only accepted science. So allopathic thinking is basically germ theory and the body going wrong during an illness. So you oppose it. But at that time, it hadn't completely taken hold of the minds of the people. There were doctors who didn't believe that, and they were more in tune with nature. And Nature Core shows within his practice, he was clearing out all diseases just through natural practices, mainly including rest, sunshine, relaxation, breathing, clean diet. Pretty much that's it. Fasting if there's a fever when necessary. Another book that I'm hoping will be similar. I have ordered it, but I ordered it after Christmas, just now, literally now, because I didn't want it to get stuck in the Christmas rush. And there's a lot of strikes on in the UK at the moment, which is Terrain Therapy by Dr. Sam Bailey and, let me get this right, Dr. Ulrich Williams, who again is going back in time. Dr. Ulrich Williams' work, more of a natural therapy and natural understanding. And Dr. Sam Bailey is someone in the last 2 or 3 years who was challenging the narrative of the alleged pandemic and has put out lots and lots and lots of good information regarding the true nature of disease. So even though I'm waiting on that book at the moment, I will recommend it on the basis that I know of the credibility of the author and the work that it's based on. So I won't mention too much on that because I'm looking forward to that book. Another book is What Really Makes You Ill, which is a question by Dawn Lester and Peter Parker. Again, this isn't a book at the moment I have got, but I've seen enough, especially of Dawn, on interviews and papers to know that Dawn and David know what they're talking about, in my opinion. In my opinion, their perception, their understanding of health and disease is the same as mine and what I believe in. Again, go back to Buddha's belief. You don't have to believe what I say or what they say, but I will recommend this book simply because I know where they're coming from a scientific point of view and from a natural healing point of view. So now I go on to somebody who I could say is a mentor of mine, Dr. Patrick Quanten. I'm just using that phrase because he was a medical doctor until over 20 years ago when he literally just walked out. He knew not as much as he knew now, but he knew what he was doing was wrong. So I'll put many links up here regarding Patrick. First is his active healthcare website, which has masses and masses of articles on the literature. You've got medical, scientific, spiritual, these little PDFs you can buy, books, mini books. And it's basically his journey. He's decided not to go back and take anything out. That's his journey of over 20 years. There's all sorts of information there, all free. And you can just spend a long time going through all that, including, when it gets to spiritual, you have to look into the nature of reality. Everything's energy. So that's a great resource for people that is free. Another website as Patrick is called Peculiar, PQ, and it looks like liar, but it's peculiar. Because Patrick is not just outside of the box thinking into a bigger box. There's no boxes with Patrick. Everything is possible until he can prove it not to be true. So he gave his mind and his ego up to nature by observing nature to find truth. And to do that, you cannot have your mind in a box. You have to completely let go. And his Peculiar website is all about self-empowerment, because Patrick come to the conclusion, as I have come to my own personal conclusion, heavily influenced by Patrick, of course, but the only way to truly be healthy and in balance is to empower yourself and take control of your own life and your own decision making. And only you can do that. And this website is a subscription website. So I think it's £15 a year, which, £15 is the price of one book, one decent book. And in that website, you'll get all sorts of articles. You can submit an article. I've submitted a few articles on areas in life where you can empower yourself, whether it be food, education, energy, health, whatever. And with the subscription within the website, there's his paper, The Missing Science in Medicine, which goes into the true nature of health and disease, the true nature of energy, and how energy influences our being, because we're made out of energy. And with that paper is 3 videos explaining the process of understanding life and how you function. Patrick's latest website is a free website you can go onto, Quantics, which is basically, you could say it's the science of nature. It's quite a new website, and this is what nature tells us. By observing nature, what does nature tell you? What does nature tell about the laws of nature? Because if you want to live in harmony with life, it's not about what does your ego mind want. What do you internally, on a deep, deep level, need to do, want to do within the boundaries and limitations of your human life? Because there are boundaries and limitations, whether you want to accept it or not. That's completely irrelevant. There are boundaries and limitations on your life due to the fact you're a human being, which is a limiting experience. So it's quite good to understand what are the influences on your life and what are your limitations. And that's another good website where you can get good information from. There's especially a good article there on fasting, which I believe, going through all your processes of learning, you look into herbs, alternative practices, etc. And then most people generally come to the conclusion that fasting, a cleansing not only of the body but of the mind also, is the most powerful cleansing, rebalancing tool that you have. Many people have come to that conclusion. Myself, I do a once a year 3-day fast just to help with the pressures on my legs because of my job, and it hurts, but that's just proof that it's a needed bit of spring cleaning that I've been putting off all year because of work pressures. So I'll put links to 3 videos that I did with Patrick. One is about the history of modern medicine. So we talk about the 2 ways of thinking: allopathic thinking and you could say the homeopathic principle, which is to work with the body. Allopathic thinking is to work against the body. So you have to think when you're ill, if you've got diarrhea, do you want to work against that and suppress that? Or do you want to work with that? Now, if you think your body's gone wrong, if you have diarrhea, then you'll take Imodium and suppress that. That's allopathic thinking. If you think there's some kind of toxicity, completely irrelevant what it is, in your system, and your system's responding by clearing that out, better out than in, as always the saying, then you would work with that. You would allow that to take place and support that. So the two areas of thinking, and in this video we go into how historically this came about and how more natural thinking, homeopathic thinking, not just homeopathic, but homeopathic thinking got suppressed and got accused of being quackery, and technically how through the Rockefellers, modern medicine became the only accepted way of thinking, based not on truth, but it was a business model. And the next video we did with the UK column was a video we did that we stuck to one area, which is what people are calling terrain theory now. So we analysed germ theory, the nature of bacterial and so-called viral infections. We then looked at the government's own data on vaccination, how they portray it to doctors, and the real information that they keep away from the general public and the medical profession that will challenge the safety and effectiveness of vaccines. And that will be in that video. And the last video of Patrick is a seminar. It's an audio video. It's a seminar that I arranged a few years back. Patrick had been coming from Belgium fairly on a yearly basis for a few years, doing different seminars for us. And this one was about the creation and formation of a human being through opinions. And it was, for me, when it was the last bit of information I needed. And then I think, I get it now. There's always more details in life that you're going to learn and understand. There's unlimited amount, infinite amount of details. But understanding the principles of life and how it's created. Every single human being has a base template, a foundation. But there's masses of variety depending on the input from conception through development. And the most important thing I learned is even in the first 9 months, and especially the first 3 years, the baby is still feeding off the mother emotionally, because the baby isn't a blank sheet. You have the male and female come together, two belief systems, programs of belief come together to create a new being for this world, which has a foundation of beliefs. But then that baby is going to come into a world that it knows nothing about. So it's constantly feeding off the mother's emotions. And this is why to keep a baby healthy, the focus on health should be with the mother, even on the first couple of years of life. There's a lot of health practitioners, natural health practitioners. If a baby's ill, they'll look to the mother to see what stresses the mother's under, because of that connection is still so strong. And if you want to really, the master degree of books, if you like, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, Patrick wrote a book called Why Me? Science and Spirituality as Inevitable Bed Partners, with his friend called Eric Bualda. And it's basically, if you want to understand what a human being is, why they get ill, then you have to understand where they come from. And then you realize that they come from an energy field, and the universe is an energy field, and we're part of that energy field. And how did that energy field get here? And he spent many, 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 many years plotting down frequencies, colors, dividing up light, sacred geometry, etc., seeing patterns, lots of patterns in nature, from seed stages of development that then reach their limit and go into the next stage of development by leaving in the next seed. And there's a couple of absolute nuggets of truth that puts meaning at the end. A lot of the book's quite technical because you're looking at complicated maths. A bit of it's beyond me, but the truth that comes out at the end in a couple of lines, he sums up there's only 2 reasons why you get ill, and it's all about the connection of your inner world and the outer world, and that interplay. That's all it is. And that's, in part you can control, and in part you can, and you have to recognize what you can and can't control. Another website I'll just put up quickly is the Informed Parent. So if any parents watching this and they want information regarding how they will go forward with any medical interventions for their children, the Informed Parent, as Magda Taylor, has been on the ball for a long time. I think I've been supporting her and subscribing for about 10 years or more, but she kind of looked into what we were being told about certain medical procedures and has been working with Trevor and Patrick Quanten and others. Dr. Jane Donegan is another doctor who works there, and brilliant articles, lots of free information on the website, and highly recommended to subscribe to the newsletter. Some good books on there as well, cheap books that you can get out. Then I'll say, if you're curious as to know why I'm talking about this video to empower yourself regarding health, like I said, we don't feel the need for modern medicine. This is a link to my book, Medical Fascism: How Coronavirus Policies Took Away Our Freedom and How to Get Them Back. The key word being coronavirus policies. Yeah, so if you're interested to know what happened the last few years, what all that was about, the truth of what that was about, I did a talk in 2018 called Medical Fascism: The Biggest Threat to Our Children's Natural Health. And I was predicting that we're coming to a very dangerous stage in humanity with allopathic thinking and germ theory and medical experts having the ability now to impose medical treatments on your children because the law says they are the experts and you as a parent are just ignorant. Even if you're well researched in the truth about health and disease, it doesn't matter because they're the experts. So my book was called Medical Fascism, and I think the last few years have shown that that is the era we're going into. There's a news team called the UK Column, and a lady, Debbie Evans, who does lots of reporting for them on the future, mainly in Britain, but this is going to go worldwide. You know, the future of the NHS, and it is medical tyranny. Many people now have seen information of children being taken, and you can be forced treated for cancer. Basically, as a parent, you have no right. The moment you make contact with the medical profession for your children, your rights as a parent have gone. Medical fascism then takes over. So the best thing you can do is prevent that and understand how, unless in accident and emergency, you don't need the medical profession. And the only way to do that is the hard work of doing the reading, doing the research, observing life. For the first few years with my children, we used a local osteopath stroke homeopath, which helped us get through periods until we just felt we knew what we were doing. Now, illness isn't a problem, it's just your body saying you need a bit of a rest. But if you feel that you're not quite there, it's good to get the help of a local, wherever you live, alternative health practitioner who understands these principles of terrain theory and the homeopathic principle. Yeah, I'm not talking about homeopathy, I'm just talking about the principle. And the last book I'll put up again, when I kind of realized this, and then when you realize that everything in life starts with awareness. So we speak about you are a being, and life is movement. Movement is behavior. If there was no movement, there'd be no life. And what creates movement is an interaction between the inner and outer world. So the information comes in, it's processed, and the body will respond in a particular way that is in balance with how you perceive the world. And that's a perception. It's not an objective reality. As we go back to the spider. So you need to understand, especially if your life's out of balance, why you perceive the world a certain way, which is making you behave a certain way. And look at the changes you need to make in your life. And it all starts with awareness. So I wrote this journal. I wrote a few chapters on the nature of awareness and how to become aware. And then there's a journal that takes you through a 30-day journey of yourself, how you keep stopping, assessing your own journey to become aware of who you are, not who I'm telling you are or anybody's telling you are. You become aware of who you are. You look at your own behavior and see if you can make the changes necessary. I know when we've done seminars with Patrick, the most common question you get is, what is the cure for cancer? And everyone's expecting a herb or a process or a treatment or whatever. And Patrick always says, pack your bags up and leave, because your life is killing you. So when you get into a chronic state of illness, whether it be physical or emotional, it's all one system. There's big changes that need to be made in your life. Now, obviously not everyone can pack up the bags and leave and change and move, because when you move, you have to change your life. You have to change your thought process. But what you can do is become aware of what behaviors and perceptions and beliefs have got you into that situation. And then you will see how to get out of them, which is not easy. It takes a lot of strong will, but at least it gives you a path forward. I think that's it. Like I say, these are just recommendations. If you were to buy all them books, you would maybe spend £100. I don't know, and not everybody's got that amount of money. There's some videos there that are obviously free. This information isn't completely free because a physical book costs money. But like I say, there are videos there for free. But unless you're willing to go down this path, medical tyranny is what your own personal path will be. And I seriously don't recommend that. If there's one book, if you can only afford one book, I would say The Science of Health and Healing by Trevor Gunn, because that will set you up for the foundation to move forward. And I would read that book I read it 6 times in the first month, I think, when I bought it, to rewire my brain. And now I see things as I believe they really are. Okay, thank you.